Long before the drums of war echoed through the night, there stood a village called Wanu, cradled between ancient forests and whispering hills, a land where the earth breathed stories and the ancestors were never far away. By day, Wanu thrived in song, laughter, and the rhythm of farming hands. By night, its fires glowed like stars fallen to earth, guarding the dreams of its people. Peace in Wanu was not kept by walls or weapons alone. It was kept by a man called Dandala. Dandala was more than a warrior. He was a vow made flesh. Chosen by the elders and bound to the spirits of the land, Dandala carried the weight of generations upon his shoulders. His name was spoken with pride by children and with reverence by the old. To enemies, it was whispered like a warning carried by the wind. Yet even legends bleed, and courage is not the absence of fear, but the will to stand when fear calls your name. On the night fear came for Wanu, the darkness of the sky was pierced by the wailing cries of a village in turmoil. Flames leapt from hut to hut, painting the earth in shades of fire and shadow.
Run! They are here!
To the forest! Quickly!
Run! Quickly! To the forest!
They are everywhere! Save the children! Run! The village is lost! Dandala, protect us from the shadows!
At the edge of the forest stood Dandala, the flickering glow of burning homes reflecting in his steely eyes. He clenched his spear tightly, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and unbreakable resolve, as shadowy figures of invaders moved through the village, their laughter echoing like the growls of hungry beasts.
Where is Dandala?
From the smoke and chaos, Dandala stepped forward, his voice cutting through the night like thunder. "You seek me," he said, calm and steady, "yet you will regret it." The invaders turned, their leader sneering. "The warrior of Wanu? We'll see if the tales of your might are true." Dandala gripped his spear tighter, his mind racing back to the day he had first been chosen as the protector of his people. The elders had gathered, their faces grave as they handed him the staff of Wanu. "This staff holds the spirit of our ancestors," they had told him. "With it, you will defend the land." The battle that night was fierce. Dandala moved like a shadow, his spear finding its mark with unerring precision. Yet, for every invader he struck down, another seemed to take their place. The ground beneath his feet grew slick with blood, the cries of his people ringing in his ears. But he fought on, his spirit unbroken. As dawn broke, the invaders retreated, their leader shouting curses over his shoulder. Dandala stood in the center of the ruined village, his chest heaving with exhaustion. Around him, the survivors began to emerge, their faces etched with grief and gratitude. "You saved us," an old woman whispered, tears streaming down her face. Dandala shook his head, his heart heavy. The cost was too great. Days turned into weeks, and the village of Wanu began to rebuild. But Dandala could not rest. The spirit of the staff seemed to whisper to him, urging him to seek out the source of the invaders' strength. And so he set out on a journey, leaving behind his home and the people he had sworn to protect. His travels took him through dense forests and across treacherous rivers. He faced wild beasts and cunning foes, always guided by the wisdom of the ancestors. Along the way, he met allies. A wise old herbalist who taught him the secrets of healing, a skilled blacksmith who reforged his spear, and a fearless hunter who became his closest companion. Together they uncovered the truth. The invaders were part of a larger force, led by a warlord named Kagoro. Kagoro was said to wield a dark power, his army growing stronger with each village they conquered. Dandala knew that he could not face such a foe alone. He returned to Wanu, rallying the villagers and neighboring clans. We must stand together, he urged them. If we do not fight, Kagoro will destroy us all. The people listened, their fear giving way to determination. Under Dandala's leadership, they trained tirelessly, forging weapons and fortifying their defenses. When Kagoro's army finally arrived, they were met with a force that was ready and united. The battle was long and brutal. Kagoro's dark power seemed unstoppable, his warriors fighting with an almost supernatural strength. But Dandala had the spirit of the ancestors on his side. As the sun rose over the battlefield, he faced Kagoro in single combat. Their clash was fierce, the ground trembling beneath their feet. In the end, it was Dandala's unwavering spirit that triumphed. Kagoro retreated with his army, who promised to return soon. "I will be back soon for your head, Dandala," Kagoro shouted as he disappeared into the thick, dark smoke. Dandala stood victorious, his body battered but his spirit unyielding. The people of Wanu and their allies cheered, their cries of triumph echoing across the land. Dandala was hailed as a hero, but he remained humble, crediting his victory to the unity of the people and the guidance of the ancestors. "I am but a servant of Wanu," he told them. "Together, we are strong." In the days that followed, the village began to heal, its people finding solace in their hard-won peace. Dandala continued to protect them, and though he still bore the scars of his battles, his mind was not yet at peace.
Path ahead is dark, but I swear by the ancestors, I will find Kagoro and bring balance back to Wanu,
he said to the village leaders. And so Dandala journeyed in search of Kagoro's abode. He crossed the dense forests, climbed rocky hills, and waded through rivers. His resolve never wavered, even as he thought of his family back in Wanu and the peace he needed to restore finally. The whispers of Kagoro's dark magic haunted him, but he pressed on. At last, he reached the Mountain of Shadows, a place of eerie silence and sharp winds. This was the home of Kagoro, the sorcerer who had plunged Wanu into chaos. As Dandala approached the mountain's peak, he was met by a swarm of dark creatures conjured by Kagoro. "You dare challenge me?" Kagoro's voice boomed, echoing through the cliffs. Dandala tightened his grip on the enchanted spear and shouted back, "I fight for my people, and I will end your reign of terror." With the enchanted spear glowing in his hand, Dandala fought off the creatures, his movements quick and precise. Kagoro watched from atop his throne of rock, his eyes blazing with fury. "Come then, warrior," Kagoro sneered, rising to his feet. "Face me and see why they call me the Shadow Master." The sorcerer's staff glowed with a deep red light as he summoned a storm of fire and wind. But Dandala's heart remained steadfast. He chanted the protective incantation taught to him by the Elder Seer, and a shield of light surrounded him. The storm intensified as Kagoro unleashed his fury. Bolts of dark energy struck the ground around Dandala, but the shield held strong. Dandala pushed forward, closing the distance between himself and Kagoro. The sorcerer smirked and vanished into a cloud of smoke. "Coward!" Dandala shouted, scanning the rocky terrain. Suddenly, Kagoro reappeared behind him, striking with his staff. Dandala blocked the attack with his spear, the clash sending sparks into the air. "You cannot defeat me," Kagoro hissed. "I am eternal." Dandala gritted his teeth and swung the spear in a wide arc. The weapon's light cut through the darkness, forcing Kagoro to retreat. "Your evil ends here," Dandala declared. He charged forward, his spear aimed at Kagoro's chest. But Kagoro transformed into a monstrous serpent, lunging at Dandala with fangs dripping venom. Dandala leapt aside, narrowly avoiding the attack. He jabbed the spear into the serpent's side, causing it to writhe in pain. The serpent's tail whipped around, knocking Dandala to the ground. You are strong, warrior, Kagoro said, his voice echoing from the serpent's mouth. But not strong enough. Dandala rose to his feet, his grip on the spear unwavering. The serpent lunged again, but this time Dandala was ready. He sidestepped the attack and struck the serpent's head, causing it to roar in pain. The ground beneath them shook as the battle raged on. Kagoro shifted forms once more, becoming a whirlwind of shadow. The dark vortex surrounded Dandala, pulling him toward its center. Dandala planted the spear firmly in the ground and called upon the spirits of his ancestors. "Guide me," he whispered. The spirits of Wanu's past warriors appeared, their forms shimmering with light. They joined Dandala in battle, their combined strength overwhelming Kagoro's dark magic. Kagoro screamed in rage, his form flickering as the light of the ancestors grew brighter. "This is not over!" Kagoro roared, summoning all his remaining power. The whirlwind intensified, but the spirits formed a protective circle around Dandala. Together they advanced toward Kagoro, their light piercing through the darkness. Kagoro's power began to wane as the spirit's light grew stronger. Dandala seized the opportunity and charged forward, his spear aimed at the heart of the vortex. With a mighty thrust, he struck Kagoro's core, causing the whirlwind to explode into 1,000 shards of darkness. The shards scattered across the mountain, fading into nothingness. Kagoro's form reappeared, weakened and trembling. "How?" he gasped. "How can this be?" "Your evil was no match for the strength of unity and light," Dandala replied. He raised the spear once more, prepared to deliver the final blow. But Kagoro fell to his knees, his power completely drained. The spirits surrounded him, their light sealing him in an eternal prison. The sky cleared and the sun shone brightly for the first time in years. Dandala lowered the spear, breathing a sigh of relief. The battle was over, but the journey back to Wanu was just beginning. Descending the mountain of shadows, Dandala felt the weight of his journey lift from his shoulders. The enchanted spear still glowed faintly, a reminder of the battle he had fought. As he reached the base of the mountain, he was greeted by a group of villagers who had followed him from Wanu.
Dandala, you saved us and our children from Kagoro, the tyrant. Wanu and its people will not forget you.
One of them exclaimed, tears streaming down their face. Dandala smiled, though his exhaustion was evident.
My success is your success. Thank you, people of Wanu, for your unwavering support. Together, we are strong.
The villagers escorted Dandala back to Wanu, their songs of victory echoing through the forest.
We welcome the protector, Hail Dandala, the mighty warrior of Wanu.
Along the way, the land began to heal. Rivers flowed freely once more, and the fields that had withered under Kagoro's curse started to bloom again. When they reached Wanu, the entire village gathered to welcome Dandala. The chief elder stepped forward, his eyes filled with gratitude. "You have brought light back to our land," he said.
Thank you, my son. The village of Wanu will never forget this kindness. May the ancestors bless your path.
Dandala placed the enchanted spear in the village's shrine as a symbol of hope and strength. "This belongs to all of Wanu," he said. "May it remind us of what we can achieve when we stand together." In the days that followed, Wanu flourished. The people rebuilt their homes and replanted their fields. The village buzzed with life and laughter, a stark contrast to the darkness that had once plagued it. Dandala spent time with his family, cherishing the peace he had fought so hard to achieve. Though his journey had ended, Dandala knew that the story of Wanu's triumph needed to be shared. He gathered the children of the village and recounted his tale, ensuring that future generations would remember the power of courage and unity. And so, the tale of Dandala, the invincible warrior became legend, passed down through generations as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, light and unity can prevail.